Hare Krishna. Welcome back to our Swadhyaya reading retreat labs. So we're continuing with the Gita for Daily Enrichment series. So let me continue. Let me share my screen with all of you. So we have already completed till chapter number 10, verse number 10. And if you have missed any of the previous sessions, you can always watch them in the Gita Daily series from here, right? So this is where it has been captured all the previous videos, and if you missed anything, you can always watch those recordings here, right? So now let's continue today's verse. So today we are going to continue with the chapter number 12, verse number 19. That is, the theme is, do we have our inner sanctuary, right? So before we read, let's have a look into the Vedabase. We will go to the Vedabase and we will read from there, the chapter number 12, that is devotional service, and the verse number 19. We'll be reading the translation first. It is 18 and 19. I can see that. So we will read the entire thing. One who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equipoised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is always free from contaminating the association, always silent and satisfied with anything, who doesn't care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge, and who is engaged in devotional service. Such a person is very dear to me. And if you go to this verse, so this is the purport, we will also read the purport. A devotee is always free from all bad association. Sometimes one is praised and sometimes one is defamed. That is the nature of human society. But a devotee is always transcendental to artificial fame and infamy, distress and happiness, distress or happiness. He is very patient. He doesn't speak of anything but the topics about Krishna. Therefore, he is called silent. Silent doesn't mean that one should not speak. Silent means that one should not speak nonsense. One should speak only of essentials, and the most essential speech for the devotee is to speak for the sake of the Supreme Lord. A devotee is happy in all conditions. Sometimes he may get very palatable food stops, sometimes not, but he is satisfied. Nor does he care for any residential facility. He may sometimes live underneath a tree, and he may sometimes live in a very palatial building. He is attracted to neither. He is called fixed because he is fixed in his determination and knowledge. We may find some repetition in the description of the qualifications of a devotee, but this is just to emphasize the fact that a devotee must acquire all these qualifications. Without good qualifications, one cannot be a pure devotee. Haravaktya kuto mahadgunaha. One who is not a devotee, who has no good qualification. One who wants to be recognized as a devotee should develop the good qualifications. Of course, he doesn't extraneously endeavor to acquire these qualifications, but engagement in Krishna consciousness and devotional service automatically helps him develop them. So now we will go back to Gita for Daily Enrichment series, and we'll read the same verse from there. So let's read the explanations by His Grace Chaitanya Charandas Prabhuji and this book. 12.19, this is I mentioned, do we have our inner sanctuary? So do you know the meaning of a sanctuary, people who do not know? It is refuge or safety from pursuit, persecution, or other danger, right? So natural deserve, this is another meaning of it. Bird sanctuary, we must have seen holy place or a temple, the inmost recess or holiest part of a temple, right? So these are the different meanings of a sanctuary. It's a noun, right? And plural is sanctuaries, right? So now let's read it. We all need encouragement. The regular obstacles and occasional reversals that life brings our way tend to be discouraging. To regain our spirits, we need our own inner sanctuary, where we can withdraw for philosophical reflection and emotional rejuvenation. Philosophically, we need to make sense of what is happening in our life with our own intelligence, we may be able to see some of the patterns. But to glimpse the complete picture, we absolutely need divine revelation. The Gita offers us the calming insight that life is intrinsically an undulation of temporary pleasures and pains. So people who do not know the meaning of undulations, actually, okay, we do not have any meaning here. Okay, so you have to tell me some other dictionary if it is there. So in the US dictionary, it is a meaning we have move with a smooth wave-like motion, or it's just like sinusoidal kind of a curve, or you can think of like that way, wavy form or delightful views. Okay, this is the meaning. And the Gita offers us the calming insight that life is intrinsically an undulation of temporary pleasures and pains. We are indestructible souls who can remain unaffected if we just intelligently tolerate. Emotionally, we need more than just the mandate to tolerate. We need to feel love. If you get that from affectionate and like-minded devotee friends, we are fortunate. But if you don't, and even if you do, we need our own inner devotional connection with Krishna. This connection takes us to our inner sanctuary, where we feel the warmth of his presence and the reassurance of his benevolent controllership of the world. To establish our connection to the sanctuary, we need to practice devotional meditation regularly, attentively, and prayerfully. The Bhagavad Gita 12.19 states that seasoned devotees are aniketaḥ, sthira-matir, not dependent on any external form because they have found their inner sanctuary with Krishna. We can avail of a similar sanctuary ourselves by assimilating philosophical wisdom and cultivating devotional remembrance of Krishna. Initially, we may seek this inner sanctuary as a retreat center for recoupling from life's discouragements. But over time, we will realize that it is much more. It is an accessible pathway that will take us out of the material world and reunite us with Krishna in the spiritual world. So like here, again, we will repeat that verse, or we can say the extract of it. One who is equal to ... f fame. So this is extract of this part of the read. Fame and infamy, who is always free from contaminating association, always silent and satisfied with anything, who doesn't take care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge and who is engaged in devotional service. Such a person is very dear to me, right? So we can see such a person is very dear to me. So this is something we have read from this chapter. Now, I'm also having the hard copy of this book. It is a little old edition, but you can have a different cover, which you can see in the background of my screen. And I recommend you can also read this from Amazon Kindle. And if you're having a subscription of this, or you can have this particular book. But it is very interesting to understand this entire verse. So now today we have completed this verse, and in the next session we will continue with the next verse, that is from chapter number 13. Okay, so for that now we will mark our do we have our inner sanctuary? This we have just completed this, so we mark it as a green as usual. And I would recommend to write down your reflections, whatever you have learned from this, your own reflections in your own words, even if it is in your own regional language, that's better. So that is fine. So let's stop here. Hare Krishna.